Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and this is a currently probably monthly podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been making, and usually that consists of spinning, knitting, some yarn dyeing occasionally, and also some weaving. So all the fibre arts, if that's the type of thing that you enjoy. Today is Saturday the 12th of November and I'm recording this from Surrey in the UK, which is where I live. That's just southwest of London. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Instagram as a_little_crafting and on Ravelry as Ankiwoo. And I will get started. Apparently I'm quite rusty at the moment, probably because I haven't recorded in over a month, but apologies to my long-term viewers. I will try to keep a more regular schedule now coming into winter, as the days start getting darker and the need for more knitting and more fibre arts becomes stronger. So I'm starting off with what I'm wearing, and I realise now that this is the finished object that I was wearing in the last episode, but I'll talk a little bit about it again because this is the Weekend Slipover by Petite Knit, and this is a kind of slipover pattern made with one strand of Surrey alpaca and one strand of DK weight yarn. So you effectively end up with bulky, sorry, it seems like I've got some pilling or some fluff going on there. And I knit this, I finished knitting this about a month ago, and I have been throwing it on over all sorts of other things constantly, so it's definitely a great wardrobe staple. The yarn that I used was for the alpaca silk. It was Cumulus by Fyberspates, and that was in the indigo colourway. And for the DK weight yarn I used Kremke Soul wool reborn in the navy, which has a really lovely effect. It's recycled wool and it has little specks of colour that you can't really see from the picture here, but it's a really lovely kind of varied effect that you have when holding together the alpaca silk as well. And it's super warm as you can imagine, but yeah, it's great just to chuck over things. I think I prefer it with a like collared shirt, but actually with a polo neck it also works really well because you can just chuck it over and it gives a bit of shape. Personally I will probably knit one size smaller if I knit this again, just because it did turn out a little bit big, especially when I look at the kind of V neck. It's quite low. If I pull it sideways it sort of falls off my shoulders and things like that. But I will probably knit a few more things, probably other slipovers and things like that, before I cast on another one of these, although this was really fun to knit, very addictive, and I just kept going. So after that, let's talk about my works in progress. Unfortunately, I have no finished objects, despite not recording for over a month. I've just been busy. I went on holiday climbing with my husband and some friends, and I'll show you some of the acquisitions that I had from that week away as well. So I will start off with something that I believe I said I wanted to have finished by the time I recorded again, but I haven't yet. So this is being kept in a Clara Rose crafts bag, and I'll link to her shop in the description below. So this is the Luna Tea, and it looks quite small because it's very, very stretchy. It's a ribbed fabric. And I'm trying to work out which way around it goes. So I think, yeah, it's supposed to look sort of like that. So yeah, and I have tried it on, it fits, it's okay. But I'm debating something. So I've separated for the sleeves, and then I've done the short rows to kind of elevate the back of the top. but there's a choice between doing waist shaping or not. And I'm undecided, and that's what has stopped me from getting this finished off. So I think it is quite a fitted tee, which kind of encourages me to sort out the waist shaping option. But then at the same time, do I really want something that's really tight around my stomach and all of those areas? So I'm kind of putting it on hold, and I might try it on again and see if I can figure something out maybe this evening. The Lunar Tee is by Charissa Lam, and I'll link to that in the description box below. And I am knitting it on undyed yarn. And I grabbed the package that this was in. I get all of my undyed yarn from yarnundyed.net, and if you're in the UK, which is actually called AC Wood Specialty Fibres Limited. But this is the yarn that I'm using. Hopefully that is, yeah, it's good. And it's called Bio Socks. So it's 85% superwash merino and 15% biodegradable nylon. And I had 5 hanks of this, but I dyed some. And I had 1 left over, and I thought, or 2 left over actually, because I've got another one in the bag. And I thought I might as well be sort of coordinating with the sample that is pictured in the pattern. So do something in a plain colour. I am gravitating more at the moment towards neutrals, which is interesting. Normally I'd go for really bright colours, but neutrals are my thing right now apparently. So yeah, and the idea is that this is kind of, again, another wardrobe staple, so I could actually wear these two together. But I was thinking work-wise it'd be nice to have something a little warmer than just a really thin cotton top that I can chuck a blazer on over or something like that. And also it works really well if I want to take a cardigan or a blazer off. It's still quite smart on its own, even though it is a bit of a tee, but I think it looks really kind of chic. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I'm using these actually Scooby-Doo cords, or Scooby cords, whatever you want to call them, to hold my stitches. These are very similar to the Knitting Barbers. I think they're called Stitch Keepers or something like that. But basically these are things that I used to make key rings from, woven key rings from when I was younger, and I had a whole load, so I raided them and grabbed some. A friend gave me the brilliant idea, and I'm holding those together with some double toggles as well. So yeah, that is progressing again. Do I promise to have it done by the time I record again next? I shall see. It shouldn't take me too long to be done with it, to be honest. It's just whether I do those decreases or not. Let me know what you think in the description, in the comments below, if you have an opinion on it. Maybe I do it one way, see if it works, and then I can always rip back. That's the other option. Keep trying it on. Let's see. So that's work in progress number 1. The second one I've been working on quite prolifically is my Weekender by Andrea Mowry. I find it funny that I'm gravitating towards projects with the word weekend in them at the moment. So the Weekender is a really popular pattern. It has been knit by a lot of people. I think Andrea Mowry herself has several versions that she's made. She's also got a light version. And it is knit bottom up. So this is where I am at the moment. As you can see, it's quite a loose fitting sweater. So it is quite a lot of knitting to do. And you actually knit it inside out, but this is the outside when it's completed. So there you go, and I've just spotted a mistake on the other side that I will have to fix later. I haven't done the knit stitch in the middle, but that's fine, I can sort that out. And yeah, because it's knit bottom up, I find it a bit of a slog, because I'm just knitting basically stockinette in the round on a really baggy jumper for a very long time. So I'd estimate right now I'm about halfway to the sleeves, because I don't really want something cropped myself. I don't like to have a cropped sweater too much unless I'm wearing a dress or something with it. So yeah, so that's where I am at the moment. The yarn is Dererum Natura Gilliatt. I have the label just here. So this is what it looks like. It is my favourite yarn, and it is a kind of worsted weight yarn, I believe. This colourway is Ciel, and I absolutely fell in love with it when I knit my Jupiter crop by Caitlin Hunter in the sport weight version of this, which is called Ulysse, and used this Ciel colour. So I do really like the light blue. But yeah, I'm pleased to be getting somewhere with it. It had kind of stagnated for a while because over the summer I didn't feel like knitting anything this thick, and like I said, it doesn't give me that enthusiasm because it's just basic stockinette in the round at the moment. But I seem to have got quite far. I think I've knit about half of this in the last week, and I'm trying to just find time every so often to pick up knitting. I've got a little knitting bag by my desk which is holding another work in progress that has been languishing for a while, in the hope that when I'm working, if I have a little break or if I'm waiting for something to happen, I can just pick up some knitting, knit for 5 minutes and then put it back down again. That seems to be working quite well. And also this is now my D&D knitting project. So tomorrow when I'm playing D&D in the afternoon, I will be sitting and knitting this and trying to get a reasonable amount done, because I will be distracted by the story and the action that is going on in the D&D session, and won't have to think too much about the fact that I'm just knitting stockinette. This is in my Antler and Acorn bag. I don't believe Antler and Acorn have any of these particular bags left, but they do have a whole load of other ones that are really lovely. I love this bag, and it was bought for me by my husband a couple of years ago for Christmas. The last knitting project that I want to show you is my Pradera wrap by Jocelyn Tunney. This is one I started in February this year. It is a big scarf essentially, but I'll show it to you in a second. And I chose this as a good option for my advent calendar. I got a Beehive Yarns advent calendar last year, and it contained 24 mini skeins in DK weight in a sort of fade, and I wanted to make sure all of those mini skeins stayed together. So I will show you where I've got to now. So this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, tangling up. Let's get this sorted out. 10, 11, 12, I think, 13, 14, and I believe I've just started 15. Just started number 16 actually. So yeah, I think last time I showed you this, I must have been somewhere here, or maybe in the yellow section. So I just picked this up temporarily whilst I was on holiday and thought, oh, this is a good project to take with me, because I can sit with my friends in a lounge somewhere and just knit without thinking too much. It is a chevron shape, so you can see it's got a point, and I really like the effect that a chevron like this has. Again, it gives me enough interest to make it kind of addictive to knit, but at the same time it's not too complicated, so it's the perfect mix for me. So if I'm on number 16, I do have a bit of a way to go. It is currently huge, but I want this to basically be the kind of biggest scarf, technicolored scarf in the world. I believe it's now gone from this brown to blue, and it will progress through blue next. So yeah, look at that lovely scarf. Huge thing. And yeah, this is the mini skein that I'm on at the moment. Those brown and blue colours. So yeah, I anticipate that this will go quite quickly now, again because I'm not too warm like we were during the summer in the UK, and it will be one that I just pick up every so often, knit them to the end of the chevron, start a new ball again and then put down. So yeah, having fun with that. It's in my Hide and Hammer bag. I can't remember off the top of my head which one this is. I think it's the number 3. But yeah, another Christmas present from my husband. So he tends to get me knitting bags for Christmas, which is lovely. And yeah, it rolls up so it can hold all of my yarn for this advent calendar. I haven't wound up the last 6 balls, but I will need to soon because I've only got a couple left to knit before I start on those. And that is the end of the knitting content for now anyway. So I did want to talk about my spinning, which is something that I have been getting addicted to. I believe I mentioned last time that I was spinning a watermelon Whizz special, which is 100% British wool by John Arbon, and I have finished it off. So this is the main skein, and what I wanted to do with this was be really intentional about the colour placements. So I wanted to create a kind of gradient through the colours. So I'll give you a bit of a close-up. So I really love the way the kind of pinky red and the orange go together, and then I've got sections which are really barber pole-y where the 2 colours sort of blend together, so you get a bit of combination, and then you've got this very turquoisey green colour, which stands out a lot more. Now I think I am getting a lot more consistent, but I'm also knitting a lot thinner. So I didn't bring it up here, but the spinning that I did to start with was quite lumpy, basically a bulky weight. And I'm spinning a lot thinner here. In some cases I think this is probably a fingering weight yarn now. But something that I've learned, because I've also got this ball, which was the rest of the hand spun, that is almost completely barber pole-y except for the middle, which is orange. And that's because I made a mistake in my planning where I'd forgotten which way round I had spun the yarn. But for this one you can see that the yarn is quite thin. There you go. But what I found when I've tried to knit with it is that actually I don't think it's plied tightly enough, or perhaps not spun tightly enough, and then the plying kind of isn't really very effective. Because what happens is when you're spinning with it, it splits. Oh sorry, when you're knitting with it, it's starting to split. This is the little swatch that I made, and it looks very mild. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this particular ball, but I'll see how it goes. So I'm wondering whether this one here is as loosely plied as my other one. I think it might be, but it's interesting that I only learned that from knitting with it. So what I'm going to do with my next spin is make sure that it's a bit tighter and a bit better spun and plied to make sure that that splitting doesn't happen. It could also be the yarn itself. It's quite a rough, rustic yarn because it's that 100% British wool. But I reckon it will soften up once it's knit and then washed. It'll probably soften up quite nicely. But yeah, I love the way it looks, especially you look at the end. That variation is just lovely. So I'm really pleased with the outcome. I don't know what I'm going to use this yarn for, we shall see. Maybe some colour work or something like that. But yeah, I'll report back on my findings further later on. And what I'm starting to do to make myself use my handspun is just almost immediately ball up one of the skeins that I've made. Just because I think that then encourages me to go, oh yeah, that's an easy one to just pick up, try to knit with, see what it looks like, and then decide what I'm going to do with it. Next up is acquisitions, and I do have quite a few, partly because it was my birthday since I recorded. So I'll show you what I got for my birthday. And this has a story. So last year I knit myself some carapins, or carapins, let's not talk in French, which is from the 52 Weeks of Socks published by Liner magazine. The pattern is by Rosa Pomar, and it's number 32 in the book, and these are little slippers, essentially slipper socks. This is the one of the ones that I knit last year, and you can see it's got a bit fluffy because I've worn these quite a lot. These are knit in bulky weight yarn and then felted to make them a bit tighter. So actually these are probably a little bit big for me. But the reason I don't have the other one is that my husband accidentally put it in the wash, which means that obviously this is a yarn that already felts because I needed a yarn to felt to be able to make it the right size. But also now I have one tiny little slipper sock. So I said to him, well, as you've ruined my my slipper socks, I would like to knit some more, and therefore could you buy me some yarn? Now, long story short, the cream colour and the light blue colour that I used last time are out of stock, or they've kind of become discontinued. So I used Hamelton 2 for that, which is a BC Garn yarn, and I saw that their tweed version is actually still being produced. So I ended up asking for some tweed of the equivalent yarn, so Hamelton Tweed 2. And I went with the similar colours, so a kind of navy blue, it's got some tweedy bits of light blue in it, and a cream colour there. And I have enough to make myself another pair of these slipper socks. It's 90% wool, 10% viscose, and I have seen other people have made these with the tweed yarn, and it looks really nice. So I've got 3 balls of the blue, that's for the main part of the sock, and then 2 balls of the cream colour, which is colour 002, the blue is 01. So yeah, I'm going to cast those on very soon and have myself some more slipper socks instead of the ones where I only have one left. But yeah, these are really comfy. I highly recommend the pattern. I did really enjoy knitting them. I think I got the urge to make myself something cozy when I had COVID in November last year, and I just thought these would be great for that. So there we go. Alongside the urge to knit another pair of the carapins, I ordered some pads for the bottom of my slipper socks from a company called Joe's Toes in the UK. So I got quite a few, and there's a reason I got quite a few, but basically it's these kind of little leather effect things that you put on the bottom of your socks or your slippers to make sure that they don't wear through. Which will be great if I'm wearing my new ones as much as I was wearing my old ones. I also got some slipper sock type things from my friend for a Secret Santa last year, and I want to make sure I do not damage the bottoms of those. So again, I've got a stack of these to use for various things, and some thread to tie them up with. This is the logo for Joe's Toes. Okay, well anyway, I will link to them in the description below. After my husband had ordered me my yarn, I happened to refresh a page that I had been looking at before, and noticed that a company that I'd been looking at now had Hamelton 2 in the cream colour in stock. So I couldn't resist and I ordered some anyway, because what I'm planning on doing is making my friends and family some of these slippers as well for Christmas. So this is the cream Hamelton number 2. And the reason I jumped at the opportunity is obviously if it's discontinued, I'm not going to be able to get any more. And I decided to order a whole load so that I had enough for 3 more pairs of these slipper socks. So yeah, planning on using these for Christmas presents. The other reason is that the place that I saw these at was down the road from my sister's house. So I sent her to go and get the yarn for me in the end, which was really helpful because she was visiting a couple of weeks later. I also ordered some other colours, again for Christmas presents. So I've got some more Hamelton Tweed 2 in a lovely teal colour, and a burgundy as well, which is really nice. So this is just Hamelton number 2 as well. And there we go. I also got a little bag with my purchase, which was this one, which they gave me free of charge, probably for spending quite a lot of money on bulky weight yarn. But yeah, that is my Christmas planning sorted though. That means that I can crack on with my slippers, get some others done, and I'm in a good place. These don't take very long to knit, and because they're felted, I just knit them all the same size and then felt them down to the right sizes. So that's really handy. There we go. Don't know if I'm going to get them all back in the bag now, but yeah, the slipper mission is happening. But I'll be sure to show the slippers as they are finished off as well, and let you know how I get on with attaching the Joe's Toes kind of slipper protectors. Lastly, as I mentioned, I went on holiday and I was actually in the Peak District, but the Western Peak District by the Roaches, doing a lot of climbing with my friends. We had a lovely Airbnb that's a really beautiful little house right by where the Roaches are. So we were able to get going every morning fairly quickly to where we wanted to climb. We were super lucky with the weather. Most days were dry and not too cold. The first day was a bit windy, but I think that's what you expect on a cliff face, let's be honest. My husband and I did a course, which was great, and learnt a bit more about how to set up top rope anchors. And of course, as I was in the Peak District, why would I miss visiting Peak District yarns? So I went to Tideswell, which is where they're based, dragged my husband along to stand around in the shop and wait for me, and got a couple of things. I didn't go AWOL, but I saw that they had some hand-dyed fibre. So this is Malevolent Jellybeans. It's Shetland, and it's hand dyed. I can't remember the name. Oh, here we go. Wild Spinster hand dyed yarn. and I just thought the colours were absolutely beautiful. They're quite dark, but I'm hoping they'll spin up really nicely together. So there's some pops of really bright jewel tones, as well as some more muted colours in here. So yeah, I've got myself 100 grams of fibre. That was the first thing. And then the other thing I wanted to do was make sure that I got some local yarn. Sorry for the crinkling. So I got myself some Bleating Becca yarn. This is fingering weight by the looks of it, or sport weight possibly, and it's raised with care in the Peak District National Park, Derbyshire Gritstone 4-ply. It doesn't say much else, but I wanted to go for some really neutral colours, and these aren't going to be to hand dye. What I'm going to do is actually make a shawl, but a stripy shawl with these two beautiful neutrals, to show off the natural colour of the sheep. I'll probably do a triangle shawl, I think. But yeah, there's 350 meters for 100 grams of the white, and then I might have got a different weight. I'm not sure. I have to double check. So this one's 375 meters and this one's 350 meters. I'm sure they'll be fine together. It's because it's quite rustic yarn, they'll probably puff out anyway, and you won't be able to tell the difference if there's any difference in thickness between the two. But yeah, I thought that would be really lovely. Be one of those shawls that's really prone to getting stained if I spill anything on it, but I think, like I said, I'm gravitating towards this kind of neutral at the moment. I don't know whether I'll keep it for myself or give it as a gift, depend how it turns out really. Yeah, but I'm really pleased to have found some local yarn. I do have a skein of Peak District hand dyed yarn that I got last time I was up in the Roaches 2 years ago, so I didn't want to get myself some just superwash hand dyed. I wanted to get something local this time, and I managed to find some fibre as well, which was fab. So there we go. That's everything I have time for at the moment. It's getting pretty dark outside now. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, and yeah, the nights are drawing in for certain at the moment. I need to go and sort out my yarn dyeing that I've been doing today, make sure the kitchen's tidy again, and I will show you what I've achieved next time I record. But it's been lovely to talk. Please do like and subscribe if you can, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Happy crafting! Bye!